Okay, so we've looked at some other fun rhetorical figures, but now we're going to see if we can identify and explain how a real writer has used rhetorical figures in a speech. So if you like a big like subheading question, this is the one. Can we, see, synthetic personalization. Can we identify and explain how a real writer has used rhetorical figures in a speech? Yes, we can. So that would be hyperphoria, or whatever it's pronounced, but there's a rhetorical question with an answer. So, can we identify and explain how a real writer has used rhetorical figures in a speech? So that's our like little subheading as we move on. Now, actually, we're going to use a really famous speech, but it's actually from a novel called Animal Farm by George Orwell. So it used to be on the school curriculum. It used to be taught as a really powerful allegory. So this means that the animals within the context of the farm were being used to represent human beings and what was happening at the time. Now, we're not studying the whole novel. We're going to zoom in on a really important speech. But just a little bit of background. At this stage in the story, we have a character called Old Major. Now, can you see our picture just to the side of the screen here? We've got a bed of hay. And on this hay, we have a large pig addressing a crowd of other farm animals. So Old Major is this pig that has lived on the farm for many years. Now, actually, Old Major's lived in quite a privileged position because he was a show pig. So he was from incredible stock. So he was kept for many years because they just used him to make lovely little baby pigs. So he's what we call breeding stock. So he's lived on this farm for a long time, and he is now delivering a powerful speech. And in this speech, he's persuading the other animals that it is time to rise up against the humans that own the farm and enslave them. So he's persuading the rest of the animals. He's trying to influence them with this striking and memorable speech to work with him to overthrow the humans, to turn against them and enslave the humans. Now, guys, you get a choice at this stage. You can watch this speech, okay, first of all, or you can just follow it as it appears on the coming screens. But it's a really good speech just to kind of hear how these speeches sound when they're spoken out loud. Okay, now the activity that we're going to do, so it's up to you. You can either pause now and watch the clip and then come back to the activity, or you can see what the activity is and then watch the clip. But there is a clip available on YouTube of Old Major delivering this speech. So our main task, though, is going to be to copy and complete the table to record your ideas as we watch and or read and reflect on the speech. Okay, so you are going to have to, you might have watched it and now you're coming back into the lesson thinking, what was that about, miss? Or you might be going to do this task, see what the task is first, and then go and watch it afterwards. So we can see here, we've got a table that we're going to copy and complete. So you're going to need to pause in a minute. Now we've got some key questions. We've got your answer, space for your answer and your thoughts, and then an example from the speech to back up what you're saying, okay? So we're going to ask some questions. So first of all, ethos. How does Old Major make himself seem credible and trustworthy? Okay, so then you're going to look at the speech. You might have watched it. You're going to watch it again, and you're going to find out how does he make himself seem credible and trustworthy. And then you're going to pick out just an example from the speech, a word or a phrase to back up your opinion. Logos. Oh, what facts or factual details does Old Major include? So how does he appeal to their reasoning, to their understanding? What facts or factual details does he include? Pathos. What emotions does he try to connect with in his audience? So what's your answer? What example can you find to back it up? Now, this box has got lots of little words in, but it's asking you, can you spot, as you look at this speech, any of those rhetorical figures that we've been looking at? Any anaphora, hyperphora, polysyndentation, antiplosis, leotes, antithesis, etc. So at this point, you might want to obviously have your notes available to you from previous lessons, the bits that you've written down, so you can see these features in use. And which parts are the most powerful in your opinion and what makes them powerful? So guys, in a minute, you're going to pause and you're going to get this table written out. Two things. Don't write it out so small that you can't even write anything in your answer section or your example section. Make sure you give yourself space to complete this table. Now, what you can do is I'm going to read the speech to you. Okay, and I've got some facts and ideas that I've already drawn out. You can go back to that YouTube link and just watch it and write things down as you watch. Or you could do a bit of both. But there is an element of choice today, guys, okay? You can choose, once this table's written down, how you proceed. Are you just going to watch it, and as you're watching it, make notes into your table and coming up with your own ideas? Are you going to read it only rather than watch it? Let me read it to you. Are you going to watch and read it? I don't mind how you engage with the speech, but I would love you to be mindful that this table needs to be complete, okay? So if you're going to pause and give yourself time to watch it, brilliant. If not, I'm going to go into the speech and kind of just read it to you like old Major the pig, okay? So your choice. Comrades. Now, comrades is a word that means my fellow friends, my fellow, like it's a way of saying you're with me, my fellow people, my comrades, my people and animals in arms. So comrades. Now, we don't use that word a lot in this country, but it's meant to be used in a similar context, like my friends, my fellow man. So that's what he starts with, my comrades. You have heard already about the strange dream that I had last night, but I will come to the dream later. I have something else to say first. I do not think, comrades, that I shall be with you for many months longer, and before I die, I feel it my duty to pass on to you such wisdom as I have acquired. I have had a long life. I have had much time for thought as I lay alone in my stall, and I think I may say that I understand the nature of life on this earth as well as any animal now living. It is about this that I wish to speak to you. Now, comrades, what is the nature of this life of ours? Let us face it. Our lives are miserable, laborious, and short. We are born. We are given just so much food as will keep the breath in our bodies. And those of us who are capable of it are forced to work in the last atom of our strength. And the very instant that our usefulness has come to an end, we are slaughtered with hideous cruelty. No animal in England knows the meaning of happiness or leisure after he is a year old. No animal in England is free. The life of an animal is misery and slavery. That is the plain truth. Okay, so I'm just going to pause there because it's a longer speech. You might have seen it, you've watched it. So this comrades, that idea of synthetic personalization, he's creating a relationship with his audience. Okay, and he does that also through those inclusive pronouns. So you, we. So we could be writing that down as one of the devices. Now look at this lovely pink bit. Okay, what is this nature? What is the nature of this life of ours? Question. Let us face it. And then he answers it. So we've got that rhetorical question, which he then answers. Now, in terms of creating a bit of ethos, okay, he's talking about duty. He's talking about the fact that he has wisdom, that he's had a long life. So he's trying to create an ethos that they can trust him because he's got this experience and this wisdom. Okay, then a little bit later, no animal, no animal. So he's repeating those sentence starters. Okay, so we've got some lovely devices that he is using that we've seen. So next bit of the speech. But is this simply part of the order of nature? Is it because this land of ours is so poor that it cannot afford a decent life to those who dwell upon it? No, comrades, 1,000 times no. So he's repeating actually this rhetorical question and then the answer. That's a repeated rhetorical figure he's using. The soil of England is fertile, its climate is good. It is capable of affording food in abundance to an enormously greater number of animals than now inhabit it. So he's actually using some of that logos, some of that facts. He's saying that the soil of England is fertile, its climate is good. So he's using facts to convince people. This single farm of ours would support a dozen horses, 20 cows, hundreds of sheep, and all of them living in comfort and a dignity that are now almost beyond our imagining. So again, he's using some more facts. This farm of ours would support a dozen sheep. Why then do we continue in this miserable condition? Question. because nearly the whole of the produce of our labor is stolen from us by human beings. There, comrades, is the answer to all our problems. It is summed up in a single word: man. Man is the only real enemy we have. See what he's done? He ends one sentence with man, and then he begins the next sentence with man. So we can see, guys, that this speech is rich with examples that you can be recording into your table. Man is the only real enemy we have. Remove man from the scene, and the root cause of hunger and overwork is abolished forever. So, guys, just to remind you, you can start to record some of those examples that I'm picking out that you're looking at with me into your speech, okay? So it only needs to be maybe one part in each box, but we've definitely got hyperphoria, okay? We've definitely got some of these examples of other rhetorical figures. We've got the ethos, that he's making himself seem trustworthy, incredible because of his wisdom and his age. He's including facts the farm is capable of supporting, okay? And he's doing quite a powerful job, isn't he? So let's look at what comes next. Man is the only creature that consumes without producing. He does not give milk. He does not lay eggs. He is too weak to pull through the plow. He cannot run fast enough to catch rabbits. Guys, so we've got the repetition of the sentence starter, but he's also being described, or humans are being described in terms of what they are not. Okay, so that's that Leotis. Yep, so it's another rhetorical figure. Yet he is lord of all the animals. He sets them to work. He gives back to them the bare minimum that will prevent them from starving, and the rest he keeps for himself. Our labor tills the soil, our dung fertilizes it, and yet there is not one of us that owns more than his bare skin. You cows that I see before me, how many thousands of gallons of milk have you given during this last year? And what has happened to that milk, which should have been breeding up sturdy calves? Every drop of it has gone down the throats of our enemies. And you, hens, how many eggs have you laid in the last year? And how many of those eggs have ever hatched into chickens? The rest have all gone to market to bring in money for Jones and his men. And you, Clover, where are those 4 foals you bore, who should have been the support and pleasure of your old age? Each was sold at a year old. You will never see one of them again. In return for your 4 confinements and all your labour in the fields, what have you ever had except your bare rations in a store? So actually here in that synthetic personalization, he's addressing each of the different animals in quite complimentary terms. He's complimenting what they've done, what they've produced. Okay, he's getting them on side. He's creating a relationship with them. You and you, he's using those pronouns to directly create a relationship with the different animals. He's complimenting them. We've got the use of Leotis describing men in terms of what they're not. He's using lots of reasonable arguments, it would seem, to convince these animals. And even the miserable lives we lead are not allowed to reach their natural span. For myself, I do not grumble, for I am one of the lucky ones. So now this ethos, he's reminding us himself of who he is. I am 12 years old and have had over 400 children. Such is the natural life of a pig. But no animal escapes the cruel knife in the end. You young porkers who are sitting in front of me, every one of you will scream your lives out at the block within a year. To that horror we must all come. Cows, pigs, hens, sheep, everyone. Do you see the pathos? What emotions he appealing to there, guys? When he uses words like horror and cruel and scream, he's trying to make the other animals feel what? Fear. He's appealing to fear, and he's really kind of egging this sense of fear. Even the horses and the dogs have no better fate. You, Boxer, the very day that those great muscles of yours lose their power, Jones will sell you to the knacker who will cut your throat and bore you down for the foxhounds. As for the dogs, when they grow old and toothless, Jones ties a brick around their necks and drowns them in the nearest pond. It is not crystal clear, then, comrades, that all the evils of this life of ours spring from the tyranny of human beings? Only get rid of man, and the produce of our labour will be our own. Question and answer. Almost overnight we could become rich and free. What then must we do? Why work night and day, body and soul, for the overthrow of the human race? That is my message to you, comrades. Rebellion! I do not know when the rebellion will come. It might be in a week or in 100 years, but I know as surely as I see it done. So, guys,